Good morning, nuts and bolts listeners, and welcome to this Friday's edition of Getting Out of the Comfort Zone. As you can see, I am streaming in from a very cold, winterly Switzerland, where it is a mere 8 degrees. So today we are going to talk about how to get out of your comfort zone, why it really matters, and 4 strategies on how to do that. So in this tumultuous world, do we really want to get out of our comfort zone? I mean, we've got so many things going on around us, and sometimes going that extra mile to get out of the comfort zone just feels so much more to do. So the question is, why even bother getting out of a comfort zone? And the comfort zone is often a safe space. We know it. It's familiar. It's effortless for us. And it sort of gets us by. We achieve what we sort of need to. We don't excel at it, so it's often mediocrity. But it comes with that comfort, that routine that we know. It's foreseeable, so there's not a lot of change, and hence it's comfortable for us. We adapt very quickly to the comfort zone. However, the challenge with the comfort zone is that we stagnate. We don't grow, we don't expand ourselves, we don't self-actualize. We just stay in that same space all the time. And I don't think human beings are meant to stay same old. I personally believe that we are meant to self-actualize. So if you look at the 3 zones that you get the comfort zone, then you get the stretch zone, which is the one we want to really be focusing on, and then you get the panic zone. So the comfort zone we've just elaborated on. The stretch zone is ideally where a person should go to. That's the zone where you try new things, experiment with new things, grow, and learn, but then also take a step back, reflect, breathe, reset, and rest. So it's not a place where you're continuously on the go, because then you actually go into the other zone, the panic zone, where you don't want to go. So the stretch zone is that you stretch and then you come back. You breathe and then you stretch yourself a little bit more. So it's like a standard elastic band of this continuous movement that has happened, and that exact movement or tension between growing and moving forward is where the self-actualization actually happens, where the whole magic happens. The panic zone is the one we want to stay away with or from as much as possible, because it's in the panic moment or a zone that we move towards burnout and stress factors. And that's where it's just continuously too much for us. It's just results in overwhelm and anxiety and just continuous working. So the aim in the stretch zone is to gradually increase the difficulty of something. So really, if you think back to learning to ride a bike, or starting when you started to actually learn to write as a child, it was a gradual process. You started tackling one letter at a time. You didn't start with the whole alphabet randomly. So you really started taking the A, practicing it, I don't know, for 2 weeks or so, until you were able to write it quite fluently without erasing it over and over and over. Then you started with the next one, and so it went on, until you were able to write each letter quite fluently, naturally, and effortlessly. So that is where it is. You often had to sometimes sit back and reflect, because for some odd reason, some letters are more easier for a person to write than others. So we all had letters that we struggled with and others didn't. So it's exactly that, to really find a way to write this specific letter that becomes authentic to you, that feels natural for you. So try and experience or play around with routines and strategies and tools. To evaluate is important in the stretch zone. To sit back and sometimes reassess how much progress have I made, how are things going. So developing this helicopter view and not always being actively on the pitch. So really learning to sit back, to reassess. And if you're not able to do it, using friends or family or colleagues to give you that feedback on your progress and understanding where you are moving forward and where you are not. And then always taking a break in between. So in a stretch zone, it's not 24/7. It's sometimes really just downing tools for a few days or weeks and then coming back to it. So the stretch zone is absolutely critical. And like the quote says, life begins at the end of the comfort zone. So when you are in your comfort zone, you are just functioning. You are actually just in that automated mode. You are not flourishing. And as I say, hence we want to move you. So I want to leave you with 4 tips or strategies on how to get out of your comfort zone, how to get you into the stretch zone without snapping you, which is, I think, the key thing, because we all want to achieve success. We all want to achieve certain goals, and some of them are a little bit bigger in size to attain and require a length of time or require a longer stamina, and others are quite short. Some of them require skills that you need to develop or competencies, and so it goes on. So whatever it is that you want to stretch, it's important that you perhaps apply one of these 4 techniques. So before I go on to them, just take a moment and choose one goal that you feel, or one area in your life that you feel you are in your comfort zone right now and would like to improve on. Just one. Just take a moment to bring that to mind before we talk about these 4 steps. Got yours? Great. Okay, so the first one is, and it sounds simple, but it's really the biggest step, and that is to overcome the fear of stepping into the unknown. Because often when you go into a stretch zone, it's an unknown territory. Hence the comfort zone is just comfortable. It's a secure space. You know what to expect and you know what's coming. But it's about overcoming the fear. So to do that, start analyzing, what do I know about this goal that I want to achieve? So what's known for me about it? What's unknown for me? And who can help me answer this unknown? Or like, who's been there before? Who's done it before? So that they can perhaps give you guidance. And what is it that you are comfortable with with this goal, and what are you not comfortable with? So really unpack this fear component, because you'll get to understand quite quickly that there's a lot that you actually know, and there's certain areas that you don't know. And it's the ones that you don't know or feel uncomfortable about, to find solutions to those will help you to move forward. And a common strategy is to align yourself with people who have done it before. So there are most of the goals that you have set, there's been somebody who's done it before. So why reinvent the wheel? Go and ask them, go and speak to them, and read, find strategies, and that often helps you to get more motivated and take it in little bite sizes, which is what is key here. The second tip is really to develop a growth mindset. And a growth mindset is a term that was coined by Carol Dweck, who is a positive psychology researcher. And her whole component about the growth mindset is not yet. So it's always thinking about it, not yet. You are on the road to go where you want to go, but you haven't achieved it yet. In comparison to a closed mindset where the belief is that you have the innate talent, you are born with it, and if you don't achieve it, you can't change. Whereas in a growth mindset, it really is about that you can train your brain, your skills, your competencies in bite sizes to achieve what you want to achieve. So it's important to always look back at it and go, okay, not yet. Secondly, in a growth mindset, it is crucial to celebrate, to take that evaluation, re-evaluation and evaluation process, and then celebrate what you've either achieved. And this doesn't always need to be a big celebration, but things that are meaningful to you. And it can be like going out for a cup of coffee, or spoiling yourself with a movie night, and taking time out to meet friends. So it doesn't have to always be something glam that is very expensive. When it comes to a growth mindset, it's important that you measure your progress. Like, how will you know you're actually progressing? And what will be telltale signs that you are actually moving forward? So that does take quite a bit of development to sit down and say, how am I growing? How am I developing? Am I on the right track? If not, how can I course correct? So that is part of the growth mindset. Accept setbacks. I mean, to achieve a goal and go into your stretch zone is not a straight line. It's a really a very zigzag line. You'll have days where you'll go a step forward and the next day 3 steps backwards, and you'll feel like you're treading water at some stages. So it's always being aware that you will have setbacks, but it's what you do with these setbacks that is critical, and to view them as opportunities of learning. And how can I do this differently? How can I do this better next time? So it's really having this positive, open growth mindset towards yourself. And that is honestly the key nugget of growing and getting out of a comfort zone. The third one is to mix up your habits. So we are creatures of habit. I mean, we know that. And it's very interesting that even when you do go out of your normal environment, very quickly you recreate that environment that you're comfortable with somewhere else. So we are creatures of habit. But the routines that we have been doing, or the habits that we have in a comfort zone, are leading to the same results. So if you want to go into a stretch zone and grow, you need to spice up your habits. You've got to start mixing them around. But don't change everything at the same time. That's going to be overwhelm. It's going to be scary, and you're setting yourself up for failure. So it's absolutely critical that you take them again in bite sizes. So look at your habits and really start becoming quite picky from when you get up in the morning until you go to bed at night and close your eyes for a good night's rest. Which of these habits or routines do you have in a day that work for you, that energize you, and which ones don't? Which ones do you sometimes go, could tweak them, would like to edit them, would like to change them? So really become quite clear and again discern about, these are the ones I want to keep because they help me grow, and these are the ones that don't. And then start seeing how you can slightly change just one habit at a time and really practice that change of a habit for at least a month or two, so that they start becoming a little bit more natural for you before you can bring in the next one. So don't bring in like 10 habits to change at the same time. It's quite a lot. So as an example, if you decide to increase drinking water, then just make that your habit for 2 to 3 months until it becomes natural for you. And then that you don't have to think about it automatically, so that your neurons have started to fire and wire together on this connection. Then only start bringing a second habit or routine quite slowly. So do them selectively. My recommendation is start with the lowest hanging fruit, a habit that perhaps is easy to change but has quite a big impact. And it can be something like going to sleep earlier, even if it's half an hour, or waking up earlier half an hour, so that you can do what you need to in that time. So really start them, because it does take, in principle, 9 months for that habit to become part of your personality. So it does take quite a lot of time. Then the fourth technique is to really start volunteering for things that you've always wanted to get involved in. So be vulnerable, be courageous, and share with people that this is an activity or a task or a community that you've been wanting to get involved in, so that you can step into that zone. And why this is paramount to do is, you are raising your hand and volunteering that you want to do something. You'll be surrounded with people to support you and assist you. You'll obviously most probably get a lot of appreciation, and there'll be people there who've done it before. So it's a safe space. It's a safe learning space to do. So if you want to increase your leadership skills, go into a role where it is offered. And we are all part of communities and social systems where leadership, for example, would be greatly admired. It can even be something like in your school, where you can go and serve on the school board or parents board and those things. So it doesn't always have to be hairy, audacious things, but really starting to raise your hand, because if people don't know that you're interested in something, they really can't support you, and people do want to genuinely help, assist, and support. So just to recap, the 4 techniques for you to use to get out of your comfort zone is to overcome the fear by really analyzing, what do I know and what do I not know? The second one is develop a growth mindset of not yet. So that also brings a positive spin on it of one day. Thirdly, mix up your habits. Start deciding which habits serve you, which don't, and start to bring in new habits that really are supportive for you. And fourthly, raise your hand and volunteer in communities, societies, or areas where you can, where you really are passionate about and want to help. So nuts and bolts listeners, that is it for this week on 4 different ways on how to break out of your comfort zone. And I want to leave you with this closing thought for the week before we connect with each other again next week. And that is, look at your bucket list. What's on your bucket list? Like things that you've always wanted to do. And maybe your bucket list hasn't even been written down. But and maybe that's the starting point, is just to sit down and Jot down everything that you've ever wanted to achieve in your life. And then take one item, just one item on that bucket list, and start growing in that area. And then start developing a strategy, a technique, set a timeline to it. And when that one's done, choose the next one. Because each bucket list item will mean that you have to get out of your comfort zone to achieve it. Otherwise, if they would be so easy to achieve, you would have done it a long time ago. So there's something about what's on your bucket list that is important to you, and there'll be a reason why you haven't done it. So on that note, have an amazing Friday. Thank you for tuning in. Remember, you can re-listen or re-watch any of these videos on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And I look forward to connecting with you next week, Friday. Take care. Goodbye.